It's so silly to sit in your own apartment, in your office, in a full suit, and talk to nobody. There's no one else here. Um, so what am I gonna talk about? Oh, what I'm gonna talk about today is my girlfriend has had her niece all weekend. And it's great. Kids are the cutest thing in history, especially when they're not yours. You can throw them back at the parents and say, deal with it. That is the position that I've always liked to be in as a human being. Um, Able to throw away responsibility. That is my MO. That is what I love the most. That is who I am. I try not to be, except I do. I go out of my way to make sure that I can walk away from things that I do not enjoy. That's who I've always been. Since I was in kindergarten, I have been that way. And I keep telling myself I'm going to get better at it, which is just my favorite lie to myself in history. That I am going to work and get better at things. That I am not just the person that I am. Yeah, there's hope. You don't have to be this way forever, Brennan. Someday you can change. You can step up and you can be a different person. Wrong. I am this guy. That's the way I'm going to be. I don't feel bad about that anymore. I used to, but I don't anymore. So my girlfriend has had her niece all weekend, and kids are fun, like I said. We tried taking her to the zoo to look at the animals, and also there were some wild critters there as well. The crowd you see at a zoo during the middle of coronavirus might be the most interesting collection of people I have ever seen in my life. Just everyone in. Okay, so let's set the stage. It's still the heart of season Corona in Chicago, Illinois. And my girlfriend's sisters are teachers. And so it was their first week back, and they were so overwhelmed that they could not start their rigorous teaching schedule while caring for a 4-year-old. They have daycare for that, allegedly. Something was going on with the daycare. My girlfriend likes to play mom any chance she gets. That's what happens to women without children. They are going to mother something. It will be a cat, a dog. I've seen weasels a couple times, but at a certain point, the caretaking instinct just takes over. That's what they have to do. So she had her niece to play house for a weekend, and part of her playing house was that I go with her and her niece to the Brookfield Zoo. We took her 4-year-old niece to the zoo. While you have to wear masks in tight spaces, and it's 99 degrees out. It was the hottest day I've been outside for in months. Yeah, it was so goddamn hot. And the thing about 4-year-olds is they have no idea how to hide their misery. Maybe I'm wrong about it, but I remember I grew up in Iowa, so we would go to the Omaha Zoo. It's the second biggest zoo in the country, behind San Diego. I don't know why. It just is. But I remember being fascinated all day by all the different kinds of critters. I wonder if that's because it was 1994 and not 2020. I wonder if, for these kids now, going and watching a giraffe stand around and lick bark off of a tree, I wonder if that just does not hold up to YouTube. When it's 95 degrees out, And honestly, the child probably would have learned more if we would have gave her an iPad and just let her go nuts and just say, hey, for the next hour, focus on animals. That would have been a much better use of our time, I think. Because it was so hot out that even the animals were not out. The only animals we saw all day were sea lions in the water because it was so hot. It was so hot that there were trainers trying to get the sea lions out of the water to, I can only assume, abuse them in some fashion. And the sea lions would get out of the water, put 2 flippers on the concrete, and dive back into the water. And that was the most fun we had all day, was watching these naughty sea lions who said, no, this is too hot. Fuck this. And here I was getting frustrated at a 4-year-old for not having fun. The problem is that normally at these zoos, there are outdoor exhibits. At almost every one of them, you walk by the outside. But it gets hot, it gets cold. In a place like Chicago, people come to see big cats. There's something about seeing something ripped from its homeland that could rip you limb from limb, and watching it pace back and forth in a cage all day that just makes you feel alive. And so at the Brookfield Zoo, most of their interesting things are put inside. And rightfully so, because on a day like, what day did we go? Friday? On a day like Friday, when it's so fucking hot, you need breaks. You need breaks in AC. Air conditioning for the uninitiated. And you need that. That is so important, especially with a 4-year-old. 4-year-olds don't know how to say, hey, that giraffe is really cool, but I'm not having fun because I'm hot. And so she didn't have fun. In fact, the thing that she liked the most at the Brookfield Zoo were the dinosaurs. This pissed me off beyond belief. The first thing you see when you walk into the Brookfield Zoo is a 17-foot tall Stegosaurus. Now, I'm saying Stegosaurus, hoping that's the tall, giraffe-like dinosaur with a long neck. You guys saw Land Before Time. You know which one I'm talking about. I hope that's what it's called. But I've been wrong before, and I will be wrong again. So that's the first thing you see when you walk into the zoo. And what that does at the main gate, it's just like Jurassic Park. And what that does to a 4-year-old's brain is it primes them that we are gonna see some goddamn dinosaurs. Is that cool? To see a robotic dinosaur? Maybe it is. I don't know, I'm not 4 years old. But like the height of all children's entertainment is that it's also enjoyable for adults. I don't think that's news to anybody. I think that's why in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jessica Rabbit exists. It's a great story. It's a great crime noir. But that movie is entertaining to adults and children alike. The parts that are entertaining to adults are done in a way that children don't know what they're talking about. that was one of my favorite parts of taking her to the zoo. Is afterwards we went. I had a loaner car for the week. We picked up my car again, and we went to a nice seafood place because it's out in a different part of town. We don't get to very often. That was like after a hot day of dealing with a physical child. I want a good meal. I want a good meal. I want to know it's gonna be good. And so I went to Shaw's Crab House, one of my favorite places on the planet. And as her niece is sitting there, she's saying, "I want grilled cheese. I want grilled cheese." The kid is not allowed to have grilled cheese at home. It's why when she was at the zoo, she said, "I want to leave and look at screens." She's allowed to look at screens at Auntie's house. She's not allowed to she can only look at screens for half an hour a day at her house. She wants to look at screens and she wants grilled cheese. Now, she's been out in the heat all day, and carbs are not going to fill her up. She needs some real substantive food. I believe that meat is food. Everything else is a delivery device, flavoring, or bullshit. So the kid had some fish sticks. And we made the mistake of reading everything on the menu out loud to her, and not just the things she was allowed to have. We read everything out loud to her. I don't know why we did that. In the future, that's going to be a policy that changes. But she heard grilled cheese and her mind was made up. She was going to have a goddamn cheese. The battery in my GoPro just died. It's fine. I don't even know if that thing was filming. So she's going to have herself a cheese. A grilled one. And she's 4 years old. She's very social. And we had told her, maybe you'll get some fish sticks. Some fish and chips, as they say. Because that's what it said on the menu. So even there at Shaw's, that's what they say. And she looks straight at the waitress when she comes. And she says, waitress says, "What do you want?" And the child says, "I will have a grilled cheese." We had not agreed on grilled cheese. For some reason, she was allowed to order for herself. We all knew that was the way it wasn't going to go. But then I had this moment of clarity where the waitress there, who was probably in her 60s, a very nice lady, you could tell she had been doing this a long time, and she looks right in the sweet, kind 4-year-old's eyes and lies to her. And I am so thankful that she did. Like, I understand there's this whole school of thought now that we don't lie to children, but why not? Why did we get away from lying to children? Because this waitress looks her right in her silly little face and she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. We are all out of grilled cheese." Okay. That's what she did. Okay. And it was over. It was done. She had fish sticks. She didn't even like them that much, but it's what she needed. That's what you do when you actually care about people. You don't do what they want, you do what they need. It's a deeper topic for another time, probably. But it was just so funny to sit there and wonder, how many times in my life did that happen to me? Like, it could have happened yesterday. Yesterday, I was hanging up my whiteboard, which I have all my notes up here. And I went to hang up my whiteboard, and I went to the front desk of my condo building, and I asked the doorman, hey, I don't have a hammer. It's like the one tool I don't have is a hammer. Do you guys have one so I don't have to go and buy one? He disappears in the back for 2 minutes. Says, we used to have one. I don't know what happened to it now. And I had to go and buy a hammer. But the thing is, even if he was lying to me, it would not make a difference. Is that what it's like to be a child? I don't know. Just saying those kinds of lies are effective. Alright, we're 20 minutes in. I hope some of that is usable. The zoo, Corona. Going all the way back. The part about zoos generally is that it's a 400-pound hippo buried in the mud up to its nostrils because the hippo doesn't have anything else to do. The hippo is not sitting there thinking, you know, man, I really need to get my shit together. This mud hole is just, it's a mess. The entryway to this, I came, my feet were all dirty from walking to my food earlier today. And now there's a piece of lettuce sitting by my mud pile, and all these people walk by all day. And I say, God damn this dirty fucking hippo. A hippo doesn't think like that. A hippo thinks it's hot, I want to sit in the mud and be cool. And all day, thousands of people walk by and yell at the hippo to do something. Do something. As if the hippo has bigger goals than being fed, and maybe once every 3 years they bring in a female hippo to keep the hippo from drowning itself. Because in its 60 by 40 foot cage that it knows every detail of. Within the first half an hour, the hippo had that space conquered and had it figured out. There's no fighting over someone to mate with like there would be in nature. There's just food that shows up 3 or 4 times a day. I don't know a whole lot about hippo feeding schedules, I guess. But there's no space to conquer, and so the hippo doesn't do anything. You know, it's a perfectly natural reaction to live in captivity is to not do anything, and then have someone run up to the glass case that you're trapped in, going, do something, do it. And they don't even know what they would like it to do. Which is the funniest part to me. Do something. What? I don't know. Do whatever you want. But make it something. Make it a story I can tell my idiot friends. That my son can tell his idiot friends. Yeah, we saw a hippo. It shit right in front of us. That'd be good enough. Get up out of your mud hole and take a shit for us, hippo. That's what we want. Something dirty, a little naughty. I can tell it to my grandmother and my idiot friend from high school, and they will both have a great time with the conundrum I was presented with by having to explain how much a hippo shits to a 4-year-old. Would have been worth the price of admission. A big hippo shit. So the other part about spending that much time with a 4-year-old is that I realize I have not spent a whole lot of time around children as an adult. My brother has kids. My brother lives 400 miles away from me. So outside of that, who do you spend time with? Girlfriends, haven't had kids. I made sure of that via stair pushes or whatever it may be. But I've spent no time around children, and it is kind of interesting because I always thought that I wanted kids my entire life. I heard somebody say once, you never really grow up until you have children. And I believe that's true. I know that's true. I can fail now without kids, and it's just my own suffering. It's not having to explain to a 4-year-old, let's just say, that they can't get a bike and ride with their friends because daddy was out drinking with his buddies. That does not... There are people who treat their kids that way, and more power to them, I guess. But that responsibility of having to provide really makes a real adult of people. And so that's why I always wanted it. I always wanted to have that experience of that responsibility. And not for the children, for me. Let's be perfectly clear about that. I think it's silly to think that you can reach the height of your powers without having kids. And so I had always thought that, and then I just spent 8 hours with a 4-year-old over the weekend, not really knowing what kids were like. Because when the kid's awake, it has to be all about the kid at all times. And the biggest problem is like they're boring while being self-obsessed. If kids were fun while self-obsessed, that would be okay. And maybe it's different when it's your kid. Obviously I care about her niece. She's a nice enough kid, but I'm picking the story up midstream, so I care less. I could be gone tomorrow, just for who knows why. Because my girlfriend sees this podcast and hits me over the head with a pan. I could be gone because she doesn't like what I say. So to pick it up midstream and have the possibility of exiting midstream, it adds a different level of stakes to a random child's life where I really don't care a whole lot. I don't. I don't care. And the biggest problem I have with kids, I guess, is that their self-involvement is boring. I get bored and I have to keep myself entertained. Otherwise I get myself into trouble. That's how I cope with boredom. So we're sitting around and we're having dinner. And this 4-year-old likes her salmon plain with maybe a little salt on it. And the thing about kids is you gotta be playing a game with them all the time. They have to constantly be stimulated, otherwise they're bored and they will die. Or make you pay for it somehow later down the line, I guess. So, we're playing this game where you take a card and you read off a question. And we're doing this during dinner, which I'm not a huge fan of. But it's not my kid. I don't care if that ruins the kid for the rest of its life. And these questions are just so incredibly boring. So incredibly boring. The most boring question was, it's what's your favorite color? It's all those awful the icebreaker games that they made you play in college. What's your favorite smell? My favorite smell is being left alone, without having to talk to you people about stuff that does not matter. What am I going to do? I'm going to sit in front of a group of strangers and tell them my honest favorite smell and think that's going to lead to a longer conversation about something? Hi, I'm Brennan Spear. My favorite smell is fresh cut grass. Does anyone want to be my friend? Please? But I think that's how people actually meet each other, how they form friendships. And I don't know, maybe for some people that's true. God help them. But we're playing this card game, and so she pulls out a card, and the question is, what is your favorite book? What was your favorite book when you were younger? And granted, this is a little bit of an audience problem. The audience of a 4-year-old is not going to know what the fuck I'm talking about when I say my favorite book used to be Fight Club, or my favorite book used to be Atlas Shrugged, or The Fountainhead, or it doesn't matter. The kid isn't gonna fucking know. The kid doesn't know what Harry Potter is. So what I'm gonna try and sell a book to a kid who's just obsessed with her iPad, and this Australian chick who builds Legos. That's what all she wants to do, by the way, this 4-year-old. She wants to be handed a screen, as she calls it, or even the screen on the wall. She'll watch that screen too. It doesn't really matter where the screen is, but she fucking wants to look at one. It could be Mickey Mouse. It could be some slut from Australia building Legos. And all you see is her hands and what she's building. That would be enough. That would keep her perfectly happy. But instead, I have to talk to that person about books. I said the Berenstain Bears. She has no idea. No idea what it is. So I can either be serious, get no reaction out of either my girlfriend or a 4-year-old, or I can get in trouble with my girlfriend. And then I at least get to feel something. It at least moves the needle of my life in some direction. I hope that's not too loud when I do that. And so I say a little known German book known as My Struggle. My girlfriend is angry. I am smiling, and the kid has no idea what's going on. The kid has no idea about the amount of bread and cheese in the back of the restaurant. And she has no idea what my struggle translates to in German. That's the problem with dinosaurs at a park. Animatronic dinosaurs that sit there with a soundtrack and they move their head like this. And they do that all day. Automation in this country has gotten so bad that slave animals at zoos' jobs are in danger. That's where we are in this country. And you think a robot's not coming for your job? When you gotta leave your cage and go home and spend all your free time out of work on the internet, jerking off, playing video games? Animals that get too hot and have to go inside, have their jobs on the line. And you think you're going to be okay? Oh, it's so crazy, man. And for some reason, the kids were into it. And that's honestly the part that pissed me off, was that the kids had fun looking at something that was fake. But I gotta give it to the guy who came up with that idea. I mean, the dinosaurs don't go anywhere. They don't get hot. They're always at the front of the cage, and unlike the hippos, they're doing something. They aren't laying there napping. They're all day. Dinosaur stuff. Try and get the draft to do that all day. Fuck you. That's what the draft says. But it sucks. And the kids are too young to know that it sucks. But until we saw those seals, because there's the gift shop experience. At every zoo in the country, it's just part of the deal. Where on the way in and on the way out, there's some kind of a gift shop, and especially when it's not your kid, you get the best representative stuffed animal or picture. Or I remember I had a little tiger's face that you pulled on a trigger down here, and up here its mouth open and closed. But something to signify what you like most about the zoo. And that holds the memory in the kid's head all the better. And there was a good portion of the day where we were going to be leaving that gift shop with one of those fucking fake dinosaurs. And I was incensed. I don't... I don't really show anger on the outside. I was like, this is wrong. It's not what it's supposed to be. So thank God for those sea lions. And then they didn't have a sea lion at the gift shop because coronavirus. That's right. The Chinese and big air conditioning have said we've had it too good too long at zoos. You're no longer allowed to cool off somewhere and see all the cool little primate species who also think it's too hot or too cold. But they think it's so often that it's too hot or too cold that they just live inside. And the one thing, there's been a lot of misinformation about coronavirus, but the one thing that we all know about it is that it lives in the shade and in places where the air temperature is below 104 degrees. We all know that. We all know it. We can be shoulder to shoulder outside with our masks on and we're perfectly safe. We walk into a large auditorium, shoulder to shoulder, masks on, and we're trying to keep 6 feet. But, every now and then you get to 4 feet by accident. Kids get excited. And that's how you die. That's how everyone in your family dies, is by being inside with a mask on within 4 foot of another human being who felt well enough to go out on a Sunday. No, I'm sorry, on a Friday in 117 degree heat. The person that felt well enough to do that is obviously sick, and getting within 4 foot of that person is going to kill you. That will be how you die. Every one of us. It's by cooling off. It's a cooling off that will kill you. Because that's really all we needed. was just a spot that she could cool off long enough to stay entertained. And that's the thing about taking a 4-year-old anywhere. The quality of time that the child has is the same amount of good time that I'm going to have. If the child is miserable, so must the parent be. Or supervisor, whatever. We aren't the kid's parent. And so you want to say to all these zoo staff, just cut me a fucking break. Do me a favor. Let my kid cool off. Let her swim with the sea lion. I don't even care. She'd have a great story about how she was eaten alive. I don't know. It just should have been so much fun. And it was something so different from what we've done all this Corona season. You know, I was really looking forward to it. And it sucked. It sucked. The sea lions were cool. There's something about watching an allegedly trained animal break the rules. That was just very satisfying. It was very fun. It's very fun to see animals be naughty. You know, somebody has a parrot that calls you a motherfucker. It's a fun fucking parrot, you know? But the part I didn't realize about having kids, and granted, you know, taking a kid to a zoo, it's a different thing. It was a lot of work. Because all day, you're paying attention to the kid. And she doesn't get your Mein Kampf jokes. Which they are jokes, just to get a rise out of your girlfriend, see how angry you can get her. But if you don't make the child the center of attention in everything you do, you're gonna have a bad time. That's just how it works. And then, the only saving grace about children is that they need much more sleep than adults do. And now I understand why my dad slept for an average of 5 hours a night. Sometimes he would sleep during the day while we were at school. And he had a job. He's successful. But self-employed. And you know, there's slow days at any job. And you'd walk in and he'd be sleeping in his recliner. Because the nap got away from him. This was before cell phones and timers wake you up. And maybe he just sat down and he fell asleep on purpose. It doesn't matter. But that he would stay up throughout the night. So he'd still get to spend time with us. But the time he had was his. And just even babysitting, playing house with your girlfriend, you realize what it's like to be the man in those relationships. It's because all day it's about the kid. Then the kid goes to sleep. And then your girlfriend or your wife is instantly on you about what she needs you to pay attention to. Because she hasn't had attention paid to her all day. You've been playing house all day, but even she thought, oh, you take care of the kid, she'd take care of the kid, me, the boyfriend would pay attention to her while she was taking care of the kid, and then she runs into contact with reality and realizes that's not possible. And so she needs the attention then. So all you do is you might have. I understand people who wake up early and stay up late now so much better. It makes such perfect sense to me. Because that's the only time as the man that you have. During the day belongs to the kid. Kid goes to sleep, belongs to the wife. Those things go away. And to be a man and be the center of attention, you sit alone in your office and videotape yourself like a crazy person.